What would you do if your mother abandoned you at your grandparents' house to be raised because she meets a new man and, well, this new man doesn't want any kids in his house because he already has his own children. So she dumps you with your grandparents and go lives a whole nother life and you don't even hear from her for years. And then all of a sudden, once you're an adult, she tries to come back into your life. Do you accept that? Or do you say, get away from me? Well, that's only the start of the story because it gets so much deeper. I never thought I'd hear from her again. After more than 20 years of nothing, my mother Sandra suddenly decides she wants to be in my life. All it took was me getting a good job. When I was 5, she left me. She dropped me off at my grandparents' house one day, smiling as she kissed my forehead and told me to be a good girl. She promised that she would be back soon, and I believed her. Days passed, and then it turned to weeks and months, and I kept asking about her, and Gramps did their best to answer in a way that would not hurt me. They told me that she was busy and assured me that she would come back when she could. She never did. She had moved in with a man named Paul and his 2 kids, Lily and Jake. That became her new life. I wasn't invited. There were no visits, no calls, not even a birthday card. It was as if I stopped existing to her. At first, I didn't understand. I was just a kid. I would wait for her by the window, thinking maybe today was the day that she would come back for me. I thought if I behaved well enough, if I did well enough in school, she would be proud in return. She never did. It hurt, it confused me, but over time I learned to stop waiting. My grandparents were the ones who raised me, and they made sure that I never felt unloved. They celebrated my birthdays, came to my school events, and supported me in everything. They were my real parents. Still, the question always lingered in the back of my mind. Why? Why wasn't I good enough for her? Why did she choose her new family over me? I never got an answer. Years passed and I stopped expecting one. I focused on my own life. I worked hard in school, determined to build a future where I would never have to rely on someone who could just abandon me again. College was expensive, so I juggled multiple jobs while studying. It was exhausting, but I pushed through. After years of struggling, I finally made it. I landed a well-paying job, became financially stable, and built the life that I dreamt of. I was proud of myself. Then out of nowhere, my mother messages me. She said that she missed me and thought about me all the time, and she claimed that she regretted not reaching out sooner and wanted to see me again, and I just stared at my phone. This woman who had abandoned me for more than 2 decades was now acting like she had just lost touch for a little while. Like we were long-lost friends just catching up. I didn't reply. A few days later, she sent another message. This time it was longer. She went on about how much she regretted the time that we lost and how she wanted to make things right. And she asked about my life, my job, and if I had a family of my own. She even said that she wanted to meet up in person. I ignored her again. Then she started calling and I did not answer. I told my grandparents about it and they were just as confused as I was. My grandfather, who has never been one to hold back, scoffed and said that she was definitely up to something. My grandmother was gentler, saying maybe my mother really did regret everything and wanted to make amends. But I wasn't convinced. For 23 years, she had every opportunity to reach out. Every single day she could have picked up that telephone, sent a letter, or asked about me. She could have tried, but she didn't. And now she suddenly cared. Then she messaged me again. She said that she knew that she had mistakes, but hoped I would understand that she had done what she thought was best for the both of us. She claimed that she's been struggling back then and knew my grandparents could take better care of me. She insisted that she had never stopped loving me. Well, this made me angry. If she had truly done what was best for me, then she would have at least checked in. A call, a visit, something. Instead, she had a whole new family and completely erased me from her life. She didn't just leave me with her grandparents, she abandoned me. And she only showed up now after I had made something of myself? I finally replied. I told her that she had not been my mother in over 20 years and I did not need her now. Her response came almost immediate. She blew up my phone with messages and she said that I was being unfair and that she had her reasons and that she'd always loved me. She claimed she missed me every day and regretted not reaching out sooner. She even tried to turn it around on me, saying she thought that I would be more understanding. Understanding? I was 5 years old when she left me. I spent my childhood wondering what I did wrong. I worked myself to exhaustion trying to build a life without her support, and now she expects me to be the understanding one? I told her to leave me alone, but she didn't. She starts messaging my gramps, trying to get them to convince me. She even tried guilt-tripping me by saying she was not getting any younger and just wanted to make things right before it's too late. But what about all the years I needed her? When I was a little girl waiting by the window? When I was struggling through school trying to survive, where was she then? She made her choice and now I'm making mine. She doesn't get to come back just because it's convenient. I have a family, my grandparents, my friends, the people who were actually there for me, and I don't need a mother who only wants me now that I have something to offer. She missed her chance and that's on her. Update number 1 comes out 1 week later. I shared my frustration a week ago about how my mother suddenly reached out to reconnect after abandoning me for over 20 years. She left me with grandparents when I was just 5. Never looked back, and now out of the blue, she's acting like she cares. I vented about how unfair it felt. How I had spent my entire life without her, and how I finally found stability and happiness only for her to waltz right in as if nothing happened. Since then, I've received a lot of support. I truly appreciate those who understood my perspective, but I also saw plenty of comments calling me heartless, saying that I should have at least heard her out, that people change, and that I'm being cruel for rejecting the chance at a happy reunion. Some even went as far as to say that I should be grateful that she's trying at all. To those people, I have something to say. If my mother's sudden interest in my life had come from a genuine place, maybe I could have considered it. Maybe I could have given it some thought, but let's be real. There was nothing sincere about it. I had a gut feeling from the start that she wasn't reaching out because she missed me, or because she regretted what she did. Something felt off. So I did a little digging. It did not take much effort, just a quick search of her name on social and Google, and guess what? She's having financial problems. Her posts are all about struggling to pay bills, dealing with unexpected expenses, and how hard life has been lately. There were even a few complaints about how families should help each other out in times of need, and some passive-aggressive remarks about people who abandon their own blood. She wasn't even trying to hide it. Then I looked deeper, and my step-siblings Lily and Jake are not exactly doing great either. Lily has been hopping from one job to the other, constantly talking about how difficult it is to make amends and, get some money. Jake seems to be in some financial trouble of his own, though I'm not sure of the details, but one thing is crystal clear. Neither of them's in a position to help their ma, and that's when it all clicked. My mother was not reaching out to me because she wanted to make amends. She was trying to reconnect out of guilt or love. No, she was looking for a solution to her money problem, and unfortunately for her, I'm the only child that she has who's financially stable. I'm the only one who could be useful to her now. The realization stung, even though I had suspected it from the start. It hurt to know that after all these years, she still saw me as nothing more than a means to an end. She didn't check in when I was struggling. She didn't care when I was working multiple jobs just to afford college. She never reached out when I needed emotional support or a family to lean on. But now that I've made something of myself, she suddenly remembers she has a daughter. It's infuriating, it's painful, and honestly, it just confirms everything I already knew, all about her. Well, to those who told me I was cruel for rejecting her, would you still feel the same way if you knew the truth? If somebody who abandoned you as a child came back only because they needed something from you, would you really be so eager to welcome them with open arms? I refuse to let her manipulate me. I refuse to let guilt sway me into helping someone who did not think twice about leaving me behind. If she had truly regretted her actions, she would have reached out years ago, when there was still time to prove that she cared. Instead, she waited until she was desperate. She's not my mother. My grandparents are the ones who raised me, who loved me, who supported me through everything, and they're the ones I consider my real parents. They're the ones who deserve my love and care, and as for my mother, she's made her choice 23 years ago, and now I'm making mine. Update number 2, it's been a few weeks that have passed. After years of silence, she decides that now's the perfect time to reach out. Not out of love or regret, but because she needs money. When I found out that she was struggling financially, everything made sense. She didn't miss me, she didn't suddenly realize she had a daughter, she just saw me as a solution to her problem. I thought ignoring her would be enough to make her go away. But I was wrong. A few days ago, she showed up at my grandparents' house, the house that I still live in, the house that she left me in when I was just 5 years of age, never looking back. I was not home when she first arrived. My grandparents told me later that she just knocked on the door like it was nothing, like she had not disappeared for over 2 decades, and because she's still their daughter, they let her in. I can't blame them for it. No matter what she did, she's still their child. They raised her. They loved her, and even if they resented what she did to me, they could not just turn her away. My grandparents are good people, better than she ever deserved. When I finally got home and saw her sitting in the living room, I felt a rage I could barely contain. She was just there, acting as if this was normal, as if she had every right to be in the house that she had abandoned me in. I wanted to scream at her just to throw her out myself, but I didn't. I held it in for grandparents' sake, and they had already been through enough. They didn't need to see another fight, so I stayed polite and I forced myself to sit down. I listened to whatever nonsense that she had to say. She starts with small talk, as if we were just old friends catching up. She talked about how much she regretted not being around, how she had missed me every single day, how she had always wanted to reach out, but life just got in the way. I didn't believe a dang word. Then came the real reason that she was here. She wanted me to meet her family, her husband, her stepchildren, the people she chose over me. Ridiculous. I felt sick. I wanted to refuse immediately, to tell her that there's no chance in hell that I would sit down and play happy family with the people who replaced me. But my grandparents, being the kind, forgiving people that they are, thought it might be a good idea. They told me I should at least try, that maybe some good could come out of it. So now, in a few days, I'm going to meet them. I don't want to go. Every part of me dreads the thought of sitting across from them, pretending this is some kind of reunion. I don't care about them. I don't want to know them. They mean nothing to me. But for my grandparents, I'll do it. I just hope this will be over soon. Update number 3. A week has passed since I met my mother's so-called family, and I still feel sick thinking about it. I knew that it would be a disaster, but I went anyways, for my grandparents' sake, for closure, maybe even for a tiny sliver of curiosity. It was worse than I could have imagined. From the moment I walked into their home, I could feel it. The tension, the forced smiles, the way my mother's husband and stepchildren barely looked at me. They were not openly rude, no outright insults or nasty comments, but I'm not stupid. I could see it in their eyes. I was not alone. They didn't want me there, and honestly, I didn't want to be there. But the worst part was not them, it was her, my mother. She spent the entire time talking about her stepchildren like they were the best thing to ever happen to her. How wonderful Lily is, how hard-working Jake is, how proud she is of both of them. Their achievements, their success, their childhood stories that she should have had with me, but never did because she chose to walk away. Not once did she talk about me like that. Not once did she look at me the way that she looked at them. She barely even acknowledged me beyond an occasional, "Oh, and OP works in this field." As if I were some distant relative she barely knew. And then when she had her little perfect family paraded in front of me, she finally got to the reason of her visit. Money. She brought it up casually at first, like it was just part of another conversation. How hard things have been lately, how expensive everything has gotten, how difficult it was to support a family. She even had the audacity to joke that since I had a great job, I must be doing well enough to help out. That was when something inside me snapped. I'd gone there with a guarded heart, expecting the worst, but hearing her beg, after everything she had done, after replacing me, after treating me like an outsider, that should have been it. It did something to me. But I didn't lash out. I didn't yell. I didn't even call her out. I didn't storm out like I so badly wanted. Instead, I smiled and nodded along. I let her believe I was considering it, because in that moment I realized something. I'm not a saint. I'm not somebody who can just walk away and pretend none of this ever happened. I want her to hurt the way that I've hurt for years. I want her to know what it feels like to be abandoned, to be led on, to have hope dangled in front of you only to have it ripped away. So I've made a decision. I'm going to play along. I'm going to let her think I'm coming around, that I'm willing to be a part of her life, that I might even help her financially. And then when she finally starts to believe, when she thinks that she has me wrapped around her finger, I'll leave her hanging, just like she did me. Update number 4. Guys, this update came out a few months later, and there was a delay. But now we're here with the juicy update. It's been a few months, I know, and I see that some people are still calling me out for what I plan to do. I get it, you think I'm cruel, petty, heartless, but here's the thing, you're not me. You haven't lived my life, you don't know the pain of being abandoned as a child, of growing up knowing your own mother didn't want you, of watching her create a new perfect little family while pretending you never existed. For once in my life, I'm standing up for myself. But I'll be honest, there was a moment when I almost backed out. Not because I had a change of heart, but because I just wanted to get away from my mother ASAP. Every second I spent in her presence made my skin crawl. The way that she talked to me was like she was loving Mother of the Year. Yeah, right. The way that she introduced me to the people was as if we'd always been close. The way that she acted like I was the one who had been missing from her life, as if I was the one who just walked away. I hated it. I hated every fake, sugary word that came out of her mouth, and I hated how she expected me to be grateful for her little attention now that it was convenient for her. But most of all, I hated that she thought that she could just waltz back into my life and use me for money like I owed it to her. So I pushed her out. At first, I played the role of the reluctant but warming up daughter. I started visiting her more often, pretending I wanted to get to know her. Again, I even brought these cheap gifts. A box of Girl Scout cookies here, a small scented candle there, vanilla. Little things that made it seem like I was putting an effort without actually giving her anything of real value, and you know what? She ate it up. But of course, her patience had limits. Every time we met, she would slip in questions about money. How's your job? You must be making good money. It must be nice to have some extra cash laying around. I always played dumb, acting like I was struggling myself. I told her I had debt to pay, that I was barely getting by, and that seemed to frustrate her. But she kept up the act, pretending to be patient, then I dangled the bait. I told her I applied for a loan, a big one, enough to help her and still take care of my own financial duties. I said it was in the approval process and that it would take some time, and her entire face lit up with joy. It was satisfying to watch. I mean, she really thought that she had won. For the next few months, I strung her along. I kept her updated on my loan application, feeding her just enough information to keep her hopeful. Every time that she got impatient, I gave her a small amount of money. Never too much, just enough to keep her from snapping. A little here, a little there. It was an investment, and it worked. I watched as her benevolent mask started to slip. The longer that she had to wait, the less careful she became. She stopped pretending to care about me and became more focused on when the money's coming through. The warmth in her voice turned into irritation. The I love you, sweeties, became when's the money, sweetie? And then came the final act. I gave her a date. I told her the loan would be deposited into my account on this certain day. She was thrilled. She even made plans, talking about how she would finally pay off some debts, buy a few things for herself, maybe even take a small trip. She'd already spent the money in her head before she even had it. And then the day came and I disappeared. I blocked her number, blocked her on every social media platform. I didn't go home to grandparents. I stayed with a friend for a while instead. I made sure there was no way for her to reach me, and then I sat back and enjoyed the chaos. The messages were flooding in. At first they were confused, like, hey sweetie, I've been trying to call you, did the loan come through? Then they became more frantic. Why aren't you answering? We had an agreement. Then the insult started, you ungrateful brat. After everything I've done for you. I laughed. I mean, no, I don't regret it. Not one bit. Final update, and this one wraps it all up. Yeah, it's been a while, and this will probably be my final update. My grandparents finally reached out. And honestly, they're the only ones that I truly feel sorry for in this. They don't deserve to be caught in the middle of a disaster that is me and my mother. They've done everything but love and support me my entire life. And now they're stuck dealing with the fallout of something that was never their fault. When they called, I knew I couldn't lie to them. I laid everything out, why I did what I did, all the pain and resentment I had bottled up for years, how I could never forgive my mother, and how I knew she only came back for the money. I expected them to be angry, maybe even disgusted, and while they were definitely disappointed, they ultimately stood by me. They didn't try to make excuses for my mother or tell me I had to fix things, they just listened. But even though they supported me, I didn't want to put them through this anymore. My mother is relentless, and as long as I was living under their roof, she would keep using them to get to me. I didn't want them to be dragged into her endless cycle of manipulation and demands, so I made a decision and I moved out. This was the only part of my plan that I didn't want to happen. The idea of putting distance between me and my grandparents breaks my heart. They're the only real family that I've ever had. The only ones who've never really abandoned me, never made me feel unwanted, but I could not keep making them deal with the consequences of my actions. It wasn't fair to them. Still, I don't plan to stay away forever. I'll visit them as much as I can, and once I've saved enough to buy a house, I'll try to convince them to come live with me. I'm close to achieving my target savings, so it would not take long. I want them to have peace in their later years, not constant stress because of my mother's leeching. As for my mother, she's still bombarding me with messages, cycling between rage and fake concern. My step-siblings have even joined in, posting about me online. Probably trying to paint me as some kind of monster, but I won't respond. They want a reaction and I refuse to give them one. The idea of them stewing in their own frustration, knowing they can't do anything to get to me, is honestly the best part about this. This whole situation has been exhausting, but you know what? I have no regrets. I did what I felt I have to do, and now I'm moving on.